Welcome back to Editors Roundtable. Anuj has also now joined us on the show. Anuj, just before the break, Nimesh was telling us how we've seen a pickup in FI selling, and there now appears to be a pretty tense battle between the FIs and DIIs. What's the data telling you?
Actually, between FI and retail, Reema, which is the battle that I'm focusing on, and it's like the classical David versus Goliath, right? Favorite versus the underdog. The good news is, and I'll tell you the good news. First of all, look at the data point. The FI short position in India right now is at record high, but for every long there's a short, or every short there's a long, right? Because the net open interest will be zero. So who's long versus this FI? If FI is shorting so much, if FI is 80% short, then who's buying this? It's retail. FIs are short by 1.15 lakh contracts. Retail is long by 1.6 lakh contracts. Now to the good news. This has happened 3 times in the past. And what's been the score line? 3-0 to retail. Retail has won every time. It's actually trumped FII every time on this F&O data. The last time this happened was actually in June 2022, when the Nifty rallied 15% over a 2-month period, when retail was this much long and FI was this much short. Previously, when was FI net short and retail net long in the market? March 2020. The Nifty rallied 20% in 2-month period. And before that, April 2018 is when FIs had more shorts than retail had long. Nifty rallied 10% over the next 2 months. If I were to stick my neck out, I would say that this time as well, it should be the retail, because the Indian market's got its own factors going for it, and the way the market's been taking support consistently at the 200-day moving average, it's advantage retail.
And the retail bit that you say, the NSE classifies it as client, right?
Client, yes.
And that client could include not just retail, HNI, family. So exactly. You can actually call it smart money as well.
Absolutely. I mean, the point here is that the local money, which is individual money, let me put it this way, we classified retail, but why call it dumb money? It is actually the smart money. It is the smart money. But Prashant, what about China? I mean, can that...
from US to China, I mean... So I'm going to focus on what's happening there on Sunday, this Sunday. Let me actually head across to the big wall. So this is basically, I don't know if all eyes are on China, but I think many will be watching this closely for a very simple reason. The 20th Party Congress, when I say party, it's the Communist Party of China, which is the most important sort of political entity in China, which is having its 20th Congress. It starts on Sunday. It's not a one-day event. It starts on Sunday. 2,300 delegates will attend and elect what is called the Central Committee, which is the Politburo. And of course, its standing committee as well. On Sunday, though, we will hear from President Xi Jinping, who will deliver the political report. He'll take stock of what has happened, and then he will lay out the focus and key policy areas for the next 5 years. So the new Politburo, the new Central Committee, which basically is made up of all the top government functions, the topmost ministers in China, that will be elected for the next 5 years. This will happen after the Congress ends. I mean, there's a meeting which is held at the newly elected Central Committee, and they then elect the General Secretary, etc. This is the schedule. So Sunday is, of course, the speech from the President, Xi Jinping, the current President. The Congress mostly lasts for 7 days, which means that the event gets over on the 22nd, and on the 23rd is the election of the Politburo. One widely sort of anticipated thing is that we will see the reappointment of Xi Jinping for the 3rd time. I mean, some are saying that he'll basically become president for life. We'll see. There are also some other reports which indicate that his status will be elevated. He's the core leader. From core leader, he will become the people's leader. Now, that is a title which was last reserved for Mao Zedong. We'll see if Xi Jinping actually gets that title as well, which basically means that he's got complete control of what's happening in China. Why is this important? Why do we bother with this from a market standpoint? China is seeing some of its slowest pace of growth in decades right now, right? And China is a big consumer and, of course, a big spender of global economy. It carries weight, and it's not carrying its weight right now because of the slowdown. The other point is China's zero COVID policy. Will we see a shift from zero COVID to some tolerance level here, which means opening up of economy, etc.? Will we see an indication of that in the speech? Reprioritize growth. I think I already sort of talked about this. Property sector has been bleeding. The mantra in China has been properties for living, not for speculating. Will we see some change and more support to the property sector? And of course, we've seen a 2-year-long crackdown on tech platforms in China. Will that ease up? Basically, more focus on the economy. I'm not getting into the other stuff, which is foreign policy, etc., which I think many will watch very closely as well. But I think we've got, Paul Schulte joining us now of Schulte Research. Paul, great to have you with us here. Thank you very much. We've spoken about China before, but now ahead of this event, how significant is this, according to you, or you think it's going to be not very important and we'll see more of the same? What's your sense?
I think everything's baked in the cake. There's not going to be any surprises. I think everyone knows what's going on. We know what the outcome's going to be. What is interesting to me is what happened this week from the point of view of the U.S. In the U.S., basically, we have had 3 body blows to China in like really 72 hours. You've had the first one, which was that the U.S. is going to ban all semiconductors predicated on permits from the central government in Washington. Number 2, you have had a ban on all products from Huawei and ZTE. And number 3, and very importantly, Australia, along with the West, basically rejected China's entrance into this new TPP trade agreement. And so you've had a big body blow in terms of trade in America, technology access to inside China, and a global trade agreement rejection by Australia. And so, going into this politically charged environment, it's very tough to maneuver right now, and I'm sure China is infuriated by this.
Paul,
it's all very negative. This is very negative. Yeah.
It's all very negative. What about the U.S.? Are we at the cusp of a big rally in U.S. markets, Paul?
Yeah, I've been pretty negative on your show the last couple of months, and it's been a really hard, awful, dreadful time. And I'm going to tell you, I feel much more positive. I think the damage to, if you talk to fixed income credit people, they're tremendously worried, much more so than the equity people are, because they see the credit markets and the fixed income markets sort of falling apart. And we're very close to sort of going over the waterfall in terms of liquidity, certainly in the UK, possibly in US Treasuries. You saw the warning by Yellen just last night, warning the Fed about liquidity problems in the Treasury market. I think the Fed can say, look, at inflation's high, we're going to pause, we need to just look at things. You don't want to, England is America's closest partner, and the British, gilt market is on the verge of collapsing. So they're going to have to pull back here. I'm convinced, and I think there's going to be a very big rally.
Paul, what about the emerging markets? Because India in particular has really managed to stand out as an outperformer.
Yeah, exactly. So the last time I was with you, I just said that, that old Rudyard Kipling, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing yours, you're losing theirs, you're in good shape. And so Russia remains closed. China is a mess. South Africa is sort of, hands off. Brazil is going through a very tricky election. And so, right, India is the last man standing of the BRICS, literally, right? I mean, these other countries, Russia's going to be even more shut down now after what they did on Monday in Kiev. And I think China is going to be more shut down after what the U.S. did. And I think South Africa is problematic. And I think Brazil is also problematic. And so the opportunities are very limited. And I think now that if the Fed can hold off, the dollar will weaken a little bit. And you'll get some oxygen put into the room of these emerging markets, and you won't have so much downward pressure on the rupee. I think that's what's going to happen.
Paul, great insights, but unfortunately we're out of time. A big thank you from the entire team of CNBC TV 18, and wish everyone a fabulous weekend.